I'm Marna, and this is the Twin Flame Detox. Today we're talking about identity shifting, escaping the box that reality has put you in. Before we get into that, please like, subscribe, comment, and share so this message can reach the people who need to hear it. I guarantee you there is someone you know that needs to hear this, whether you realize it or not. Also, make sure you watch to the end to see how to sign up for individual coaching with me as you navigate your own integration and ascension process. So with that being said, let's get into the video. So what is an identity shift? Well, to get to that, first we have to understand identity. What is your identity? Who are you? And I'm not talking about what you do for a living. I'm not talking about how you make your mark on the world. Who are you? Who is the person that does all these things? I mean, it's really, really easy to sit there and say, well, I'm a mom. I work in this place. I do retail. I sell things for a living. It's really, really easy to name off the things that we do. It's a lot harder to name off who we are, because we are so much more than just the sum of what we do, aren't we? So, the first step in doing an identity shift is going to be identifying what your current identity is. Once you do identify that current identity, then you can start finding the blocks that keep you from being able to transcend it. So think of it this way. If you have a current narrative that you tell yourself that says, I work in a job where I make $50,000 a year, and you have wired that in to being your identity, part of you says, I make $50,000 a year. That is what I'm worth. Then you will never be able to completely shift out of making $50,000 a year. To make any major change in your life, you have to recognize the part of your identity that is tuned into your old paradigm. And you have to change that part of your identity. One of the common things that you hear in spiritual fields right now is that your personality creates your personal reality. And I believe that's from Neville Goddard, but I'm not positive. So that is also, your personality is a reflection of your identity, who you identify as. So who you identify as is creating the three-dimensional reality that you currently live in. So look around your 3D world and see who you identify as. It may not be where you want to be in the long run. So, now yes, I have done a couple of videos already on identity shifting. So please feel free to check those out. Now, when we have a personal identity, we are putting ourselves in a nice little box container and saying, this is who I am. Who made your box? Is your box one that you created for yourself? Or is your box one that was created for you? How often were you told that you had to do certain things? You had to follow a certain life path. You had to become a certain person as you were growing and developing. And how much of that is still reflected in the identity you have today? Were you given the lecture that I was given, that you had to go to school, get good grades, go to college, and then get married, have kids, right? And end up divorced and trying to figure life out as a middle-aged individual? A lot of people are. For a lot of people, that does determine large facets of their identity. So how do we break that box? How do we step outside of that identity and create an entirely new paradigm for ourselves and for the life that we choose to live in? I mean, we're going through this spiritual 5D ascension. Surely that's going to reflect in our 3D self, right? And it does. quite often, as you are advancing in your ascension path, your 3D life is going to feel more and more confining. The people that you're friends with aren't going to have the same interests as you anymore. The places where you are used to going aren't going to feel comfortable anymore. The job that you're used to doing is going to feel like it is holding you back instead of helping you grow. All of these are signs that your spiritual evolution needs to change your 3D reality for you to continue on the path. And this is a perfectly normal part of the process. Growth is hard. Growth is painful. Growth requires leaving behind the things that no longer serve us, no matter how much emotional attachment we may have to them. As you advance, those things that no longer work in your life will fall away whether you want them to or not. And trying to hang on to them will only lead to feelings of frustration and resentment. So it's better to take control of where you're going to go in your personal growth. And identity shifting is a very large part of that. So let's identify. Take out a sheet of paper and just write down, 5 or 10 things that make up your identity. Don't use physical descriptors. Hair color does not count. Who are you at your core? Who are you really? Not the face that you show the world, not the face you show your kids, not even the face you show your friends. Who are you? And go ahead and pause the video and write your list. It's perfectly okay. I'll be here when you get back. So now that you have your list, look at it. What is on that list that you really don't want to identify with anymore? What is on that list that you see as limiting, that you don't want to be a part of, that you are ready to outgrow? Look at those things and look at where they influence your life. What do you have to do to change those aspects? On my list, and yes, I do have a list. On my list, I need to change working a 9-to-5 job so that I can have the freedom to travel. That is part of the identity I'm growing into, someone who travels to various sites of spiritual growth and evolution. So, I am creating a means of supporting myself that is not going to be reliant on having a 9-to-5 job, so that I can have that freedom. So that when my daughter calls me for advice on dealing with my grandson, I can go and be grandma for a while. So that when I get that call in my soul that I need to be climbing the Red Rocks in Sedona, I can go. Or when I need to be hiking up Stone Mountain in Georgia, I can go. That is part of the identity I have chosen to grow into. I am taking the steps necessary to leave the old identity behind. And this video is actually one of those steps. This entire channel is. I am leaving behind the identity of the person who does not speak their truth. I am leaving behind the identity of the person who gets by in society. I am leaving behind the identity of the person who hides their light. And again, this channel is a large part of that. This is where I am learning to speak my truth, whether it's, conventionally acceptable or even acceptable in most of the spiritual communities or not. This is where I am coming to speak the truth that I see, the downloads that I get, and to share the wisdom that I have with people who can learn from it and are willing to learn from it. And I'm incredibly honored that you choose to come and listen to me talk. But those are examples of breaking the box. So, where is your box? What is it that you are choosing to leave behind? Where are you choosing to go? That's when you sit down and make another list. And this list is the list of things you need to give up to reach the place where you plan to be. What is your life going to look like in a year when you have completed this paradigm shift? What is going to be different in your life in a year? What is going to be the same? What are you going to grow within yourself? And what are you going to let go of as you develop? Those are the questions that you have to answer for yourself. I can't answer them for you. But it's in facing these questions and making these decisions that we come up with the ability to see where we are going and to manifest the world that we choose to be in. So once you have your lists made, then the hard part starts, because that's when you start with the action steps. And those action steps may be very small. It may be something as simple as starting a YouTube channel or a blog, or telling a friend that, hey, I've decided I'm giving up smoking. Whatever it is that you choose to do, make sure you have someone who helps keep you accountable for what you're doing. Someone who keeps encouraging you when things are behind, so that you can keep moving forward. Make sure that you have someone who is in your corner and ready to cheer you on when you need it, because we all have those times when we falter a little bit. Okay, so there is your basics in how to start with your identity shift. I'm Marna. This has been the Twin Flame Detox. Thank you for joining me.